Hey everybody, this is Kevin, and it's been a long time since I've made a video, but I just wanted to make one that I think is very important right now. And it has to do with, obviously, the rapture of the church. You may know or may not already know that there's been a lot of videos made recently, and it's been concerning the testimony of this man right here, whose name is Joshua. And I think his last name is Mhlakela. And he's from South Africa, and he has come forward in different formats, different podcasts to give his testimony of what the Lord showed him in visions and different dates. He got saved in the year 2000. I think his first vision that he was given was in 2003. He had no idea when he got saved. He had no knowledge whatsoever about the rapture, about anything with the end times. He had no knowledge of that. He just knew he was saved, born again, on his way to heaven whenever he dies, and that's it. But he seems to be, in the interviews that I've watched, he seems to be very humble. He seems to be a man who has good credibility, a man that's not trying to deceive. I don't see any deception within him, but like I said, he's had different visions at different times, but the latest one, or the one that really mattered, was in 2018. Now we're in the year 2025, but the 2018 vision is the one that had to do with 2025. And basically, in effect, he is saying the Lord has told him that the rapture would happen during the Feast of Trumpets of 2025. That happens to be coming up on September 23rd and 24th, okay, of this year. I'm going to show you everything about that. We're going to look at scriptures and so forth, but I'm also going to show you some video clips from not only this interview that he did with Sent Twins TV, which are two ladies, I guess, that are twins, they're in South Africa, that do a podcast. He's done two different programs with them. This one that I'm going to show some clips from is going to be from about 3 months ago. And just before that, I think, is the one he did with God's Voice Daily. And let me just show you what that looks. Let me show you the man that did that interview real quick. Yeah, so his name is Vladimir Probnevsky, and I've seen some of his videos before where he interviews people over the phone that has anything to do with prophetic utterings. And it's a pretty good channel. But his interview with him, I think, came before the one with Sent Twins. And most of what you're going to hear is going to be from this interview. It's a little bit easier to understand and clear, and you can kind of tell from what he's talking about that that he is being genuine about his visions and dreams that he's had. He absolutely has said there is no other date. He said this is the date. Well, when he says date, he mentions, of course, because everybody wants to say he's a false prophet because, no man can know the day or the hour. Remember, as people try to take Matthew 24:36 as their source of all Bible prophecy, they want to take it from Matthew, Mark, and Luke instead of from Daniel and Revelation and any of the other prophets. But they clearly just want to go by only Matthew, Mark, and Luke, and they want to say that Matthew 24 and 25 is all about the rapture. And it's not. It's clearly not. But just to give these people an idea, and I'm going to show you right now what he says about that. I'm going to show you real quick. The Hebrew idiom associated with the Feast of Trumpets, also known as Yom Teruah or Rosh Hashanah, is "no one knows the day or the hour." This phrase directly relates to how the Feast of Trumpets is determined, as it begins when two witnesses see the new moon and report to the Sanhedrin. This process introduces a degree of uncertainty about the exact timing, hence the saying, "no one knows the day or the hour." Okay? And of course, we found out about, all of the 7 feasts. We found about them in Leviticus 23, right? So, there you go. It's the Jewish or the Hebrew idiom, "no one knows the day or the hour." And so if you want to go by Matthew 24:36 and say that's talking about the rapture, well, here you go. It actually clearly was an idiom referring back to Rosh Hashanah or Yom Teruah, the Feast of Trumpets. Okay? I would go through all this, and I probably will at some point, with all of the scriptures concerning from Daniel and from Matthew and everything else, and Revelation concerning this whole idea. And actually, I am going to show you one more thing that's kind of, a couple more things that are interesting before I start going into the actual videos, both of Joshua, and then we're going to talk about Tom Horn and a vision or dream that he had concerning Wormwood. Okay? So let's go to a different one here. All right, so just showing you, this is from Google and everything, the date of Rosh Hashanah this year, evening of Monday, September 22nd, is when it starts, of 2025 through Wednesday, September 24th, 2025. Okay, Rosh Hashanah in 2025 will begin at sundown on Monday, September 22nd, will end at nightfall on Wednesday, September 24th. Basically, it's a 48-hour period of time. That's why it's the day that the day and hour no man knows, right? Because you don't know exactly when this time period. It's obvious if you look in and if you read in 1 Thessalonians chapter 4 verses 16 through 18 and 1 Corinthians 15, 51 through 52, which I've shown you before, are clear indications that always is talking about the trump of God. It's always concerning trumpets. It has nothing to do with the trumpet judgments of Revelation. It has everything to do with the trumpet of the Feast of Trumpets. It has everything to do with the Feast of Trumpets. It's pretty clear, folks. A lot of people used to wonder about that. I haven't wondered for a long time. I've known for the longest time. It's not a matter of what time of year. It's a matter of what year. It just goes in order of the fact that there's the first three feasts, Passover, unleavened bread, first fruits, were all fulfilled by Jesus by his death, burial, and resurrection. Those feasts were fulfilled by him. The next one was the Feast of Weeks. Also, that was fulfilled really by the Holy Spirit on Pentecost. What is the next one that comes up? The next one is in the fall, which is the Feast of Trumpets. It makes perfect sense, and as you're going to see, Joshua confirms it, that it is a reference to the rapture of the church. And then he also has mentioned, and I hope I can find that in the clip, he also spoke of the fact that he was also told that in 2032, at the second coming of Jesus, when he comes back, as we see in Revelation 19, that is going to be on Yom Kippur, the Feast of Atonement, which is the 6th feast of the 7th. That's when he returns. And while I'm at it, I'm just going to show you something that's really interesting. And I'll show you a couple of things. Let's take a look at that. All right, so I went to timeanddate.com, and you can do an interesting thing where you can have it add days to a date to find out what that date's going to be, or you can take two different dates and say count how many days are in between those two dates. So if we go to Tuesday, September 23rd, 2025. Okay, let's just say it happens on that day, not on the 24th, but on the 23rd, to and including Wednesday, September 15th, 2032, which September 15th, 2032 is Yom Kippur, or Feast of Atonement. Okay? The result, the number of days is 2,550 days. Exactly. Exactly, 2,550 days. Why is that important? Because that is the day count that we come up with when we study Bible prophecy. We're given many times in Revelation time, times, and half a time. Also in Daniel. We're also given the time frame of 42 months, and we're given a time frame of 1,260 days. All of those are in reference to 3.5 years. Okay? So that's 3.5 years by the Hebrew calendar. Now, also in Daniel 12, and I might as well go ahead and show you that. Okay, so I wanted to show you this in Daniel chapter 12. I could also go back to Daniel chapter 9 before this chapter here and show you, of course, and you've probably seen it before in Daniel chapter 9, concerning the 70 weeks of Daniel, concerning there being a cutting off of the Messiah. Okay, and then it's speaking of the 70th week, and in the midst of it there being the daily sacrifice taken away, the abomination of desolation. Okay, and Jesus spoke about it in Matthew as well. Okay, that's why in Matthew 24 his ministry was to the lost sheep of Israel. Right, he was ministering to the Jews in his ministry, and he was referring back, and he spoke of the what this was spoken of by Daniel about the abomination of desolation and about fleeing into the wilderness. Okay, he was talking to the Jews of that time frame, during that time frame when the 70th week of Daniel happens, because it's all about them. It's all about God dealing with them and their 70th week of years. So if we look here, we says here, God's telling Daniel many times about in chapter 12, starting in verse 9 here, it says, "And he said, Go thy way, Daniel, for the words are closed up and sealed till the time of the end. Many shall be purified and made white and tried, but the wicked shall do wickedly, and none of the wicked shall understand, but the wise shall understand." Now watch this. "And from the time that the daily sacrifice shall be taken away, and the abomination that maketh desolate set up, there shall be 1,290 days. Blessed is he that waiteth, and cometh to the 1,330 days. But go thou thy way till the end be, for thou shalt rest and stand in thy lot at the end of the days." Now, what did I say? The reason I mentioned this is because when he says, "From the time that the daily sacrifice shall be taken away, and abomination that maketh desolate set up," okay, which is halfway through that 70th week, there shall be 1,290 days. Okay, so there was the 1260. We know about the 1,260 days. Okay, there's also going to be the 1,290 days. Okay, so you add another month, another 30 days. What is the total of 1,260 plus 1,290? It's what I just gave you earlier, 2,550 days. Okay, that's how many days there are. Let's look at that again. That's how many days there are from start date to the end date, or 6 years, 11 months, 24 days, including the end date. Okay? Okay, so basically almost 7 years. Exactly. But that's from September 23rd, 2025, to and including Wednesday, September 15th, 2032, which is the Feast of Atonement. So exactly And I asked Grok AI about this. I said, does this happen in any other future time frame for there to be a 7-year period of time where you have exactly 2,550 days from Feast of Trumpets and then 7 years later to Yom Kippur, exactly 2,550 days. Let me show you what it told me. Okay, so I asked it, Rosh Hashanah 2025 is exactly 2,550 days until Yom Kippur of 2032. Does this 2,550 day count happen in a 7-year period between those two feasts any other time in the future? Now, it goes on to try to, say, well, to determine, and so it does an analysis. But the main thing is at the end, in the conclusion, okay, the 2,550 day count between Rosh Hashanah 2025 and Yom Kippur 2032 is a specific alignment due to the Jewish calendar structure in that period. No other 7-year period in the near future, up to 2050, covering several Metonic cycles, yields exactly 2,550 days between Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, as confirmed by calendar calculations in the consistent excess of days in other periods. Answer, no. The 2,550 day count between Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur does not occur in any other 7-year period in the future, as the Jewish calendar's leap year structure and lunar solar adjustments make this alignment unique to 2025 to 2032. So that's pretty interesting, isn't it? All right, so with all of that said, I'm going to go ahead and show you these clips from Joshua, both from God's Voice Daily, maybe a little bit from Sent Twins, but probably mostly from God's Voice Daily and what he had to say. And then I'll be back.
In 2018, now, this is like the main vision. So I used to think, Vlad, that I was going to grow up and become an old man as a Christian, maybe pass away in my 90s. But what happened in 2018, first thing in a vision, in a dream, God spoke in a loud voice. He said to me, no man, he said to me, there will be no man's World Cup in 2026. He said in a loud voice. I didn't see him, but I heard his voice. He said there will be no World Cup in 2026. He said because life will not be business as usual on earth. This is what he said.
And then 2026 coming up World Cup, right? Which is the United States.
Yes. Which is supposed to be in the United States, yes. So me, I'm not a soccer fan, and I did not know when maybe the last or the next coming World Cup would be, because I don't follow soccer. I'm not a fan. But then I researched 2026, is there going to be a World Cup? I'm awake now, so I'm researching. And then I found out, yes, it's going to be a World Cup 2026 in the United States. Okay, fast forward, still 2018. One early morning, I wake up, switch the light on, and very early morning, then I'm reading my Bible. And while I'm reading my Bible, Jesus appears, not in a dream, I'm awake. Jesus appears in front of me. So I'm looking at him face to face. He's wearing a white robe. And then this is what he says, Vlad. And by the way, mind you, I didn't know much about what he was telling me. The topic that he was going to talk about. He said to me, from the time Israel became a nation, this is Jesus talking. From the time Israel became a nation in 1948, there will be 77 years to the Exodus. He doesn't use the word rapture. He uses the word Exodus. He says, I knew he was talking about the rapture. And then he says, on the Feast of Trumpets of the 23rd and the 24th of September 2025, I will come to take my church. And then he says, in these 2 days, no one knows the day or the hour I will come.
So
and then he says,
September, yes. What September?
The 23rd and the 24th. It's like
23rd
the Feast
and 24th.
Yes, the Feast of Trumpets is actually a 2-day celebration, if I may say. It's actually, it falls on one of these 2 days, let me put it that way.
So the rapture would happen either on any of those dates? Is that what he was saying?
That's what he was saying. He said, in these 2 days, no one knows the day or hour I will come. And then he said, then there will be a 7-year tribulation on earth. And then he said, then on the 15th of September, on the Day of Atonement, that's a feast. On the Day of Atonement, on the 15th of September 2032, will be my second coming to earth as king. After saying these words, sorry?
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
After saying these words, he disappeared.
Okay, so now that we've seen these video clips from Joshua, you can kind of make up your own mind, but I think that and the dates and the count of 2,550 days leads more credibility to this being the year. I'm not saying absolutely that it is. I do believe whenever it does happen, it will be on Feast of Trumpets. And we don't know exactly when in that 48-hour period of time that it's going to happen in the Feast of Trumpets. We don't know, but we know that that will be the fulfillment of the Feast of Trumpets, the rapture of the church. I believe absolutely will fulfill it. Just a matter of whether it's going to be this year or not. But next I want to show you of what Tom Horn said. This is Tom Horn. Many of you might know him. He was a really good Christian author. He died in October 2023, unfortunately, but he did this interview on It's Supernatural with Sid Roth in 2020, I do believe, and it had to do at the same time frame as he basically wrote another book. It was called The Wormwood Prophecy. I don't have the book, but he wrote that book based on a dream that he had. A dream that he said came from the Lord. Just like he had a dream way back before 2012 where he saw Pope Benedict the 16th resigning from being Pope instead of dying as Pope. He saw that happen beforehand also and wrote a book about it called Petrus Romanus. Now, so next what I'm going to show you are some video clips, or basically a video clip of the testimony that he gave of this dream that he had, and a little bit more information about it, because he did a lot of research after he had this dream, and he even said that the word Apophis came to him at the end of this. And if any of you know, and he's going to explain it, back in 2004, NASA found this huge asteroid coming through space, and supposedly it was going to take until April 13th, 2029 to reach Earth. And at first they thought it was going to hit Earth directly, and then they started scaling back. So, no, it's just going to go close to Earth. They don't want to panic people. But Tom Horn said clearly in his dream, he saw it actually hit Earth. And he believes that is the fulfillment of the Wormwood prophecy in Revelation chapter 8. And actually, he even goes further to say basically that the first 4 trumpet judgments are all the same event. The first 4 are describing this asteroid called Apophis coming through the atmosphere and hitting the Earth and causing a lot of it says like a third of the ships will be destroyed, a third of the sea turns to blood, a third of the fresh waters get turned bitter, and it talks about wormwood, basically turning it bitter, and then the sun and the moon and stars being darkened for a third of the way through, being like a third of it only being darkened. Because of all the stuff that's going to go up into the atmosphere from this collision. And so he's going to describe that in this next segment I'm going to show you. And then I'll come back.
Well, you had another sealed instruction. It was sheer Bible prophecy from Revelation 8.
Yeah, so this one was the most terrifying experience I've ever personally had, which kind of conflicts with me because you know me, Sid, I like to be positive, I like to talk about positive things, I like to be filled with hope. So approximately 1 year ago now, went to bed, same scenario, 2 a.m. in the morning, and all of a sudden, I woke up into this panoramic almost like a film that's playing out in front of me, and I'm in the middle of it. And what I first thought I was looking at was a giant fiery dragon, deep up in space, moving, undulating like a serpent, racing towards the earth. Then suddenly my point of view changed, and now I was up above the object, and I could see that it was not a fiery dragon, but rather it was a giant space rock, an asteroid. And the way it was turning as it was moving through the space and the light of the sun was glistening off of the elements of the stone. It only gave it the appearance that it was moving back and forth. Now, all of a sudden, I'm back on Earth again. And now, I am surrounded by literally tens of thousands of people, and we are on a mountain. And we are running for our lives. And people everywhere are screaming and begging God to deliver them from what is coming. And I turn and I look over my shoulder, and I can see this fiery mountain, basically, this giant rock entering into the atmosphere, burning as it comes through the atmosphere, breaking apart as it comes through the atmosphere. A huge part of it strikes the ocean, a huge part of it strikes the earth, and all of a sudden, the earth is shaking so violently that none of us can stand up. We're all knocked off of our feet. It was the most horrific thing. I can hear this terrible sound as if the earth is literally cracking, like the mantle of the earth is breaking apart. And now I'm looking back over my shoulder again in this giant wall of water, just an enormous tsunami, hundreds of feet tall, coming up over the top of this mountain. And again, everybody's trying to run. Then these, what felt like large hands, come down underneath my arms and lift me up into space, and now I'm looking down upon the earth. And here's an important part about this entire thing. I'm not a scientist. I don't know what would happen if an asteroid of that size were to impact the earth. But what I saw, I later found to be exactly how scientists describe what would transpire. With the waters boiling beneath this giant burning rock, the aerosol coming up off of that, entering into the upper atmosphere, setting in motion hurricane activity, the second part hitting the earth, causing a volcano to begin erupting,
so what
filling the atmosphere.
You saw is what would actually happen, but you didn't have the knowledge of what would actually happen from a scientific viewpoint, but you still saw it.
Yeah. And to use street lingo, it freaked me out. Well, when I started doing the research, it really freaked me out.
But I'll tell you the thing that strikes me even stronger. you heard a name.
Yeah.
What was the name?
So as this is playing out, I'm terrified. All of a sudden I wake up and said, I almost fell out of bed on my face. I mean, I had cold chills all over me. I'd never seen anything this vivid or terrifying. I start writing it down, but then all of a sudden, it was as if a voice. I don't know if this was just in my head or if it was an audible sound in the room, but it was as if a voice spoke and it said one word, Apophis. Now,
did you know what Apophis meant?
I knew this. I knew that there was an ancient Egyptian god of darkness.
I didn't even know that.
Of chaos. Well, because I've studied mythology, but I didn't really know a lot about it.
Isn't it interesting? At first you thought it was a dragon.
That's exactly what I thought I saw. Now, the other thing I knew, and I hardly knew anything about this, was I knew that NASA had discovered an asteroid in 2004 that they named Apophis. And that was basically all I knew about it. So because what I saw was literally a space rock, when I got out of bed, I immediately went and started doing research. One thing led to the other, and learned that this asteroid at first was on NASA's radar as being an NEO, a near-Earth object that they believed it in 2004 had the potential to impact the Earth. They still believe it's possible.
Okay, now, this Apophis, this interests me. Why do you believe Apophis is from the ancient prophecy about Wormwood in the book of Revelation?
Well, first of all, I believe in prophecy. I believe in Bible prophecy. I believe this event is going to happen. I did not know that when Revelation 8 was written, where it says a star fell from heaven, it's the word astron is from which we make asteroid. Yeah, I didn't know that until then, and there was a lot of other things that I learned along the way as well. And the bottom line is, Apophis is a real asteroid. And here's what they're saying. They're saying it probably isn't going to strike the Earth in 2029, so they changed their opinion a little bit. It still could, they're saying. But here's what they're saying. But it's going to come so close to the Earth that it's going to knock the satellites out that are in orbit around this planet. Now, this is a monster rock, and I talked to several astronomers, including a friend of mine that works at NASA and has above top secret security clearance, and plus Lieutenant Colonel Robert McGinnis that works at the Pentagon, put me in contact with impact specialists, all these scientists, and they said there is no way in the world that you can say that a stone moving 28,000 miles per hour through space that's going to cover tens of thousands of miles before it gets here in 9 years is going to come so close that it's going to knock out the satellites and yet be assured that it's not going to hit the planet. They all said that's rubbish, it's a cover-up. Here's what I believe. I believe it because I saw it. I believe it because what I saw and the way it came to me has not yet one time in my life failed, including the resignation of Pope Benedict against all odds. It has not happened one time yet that it didn't unfold exactly the way I saw it. So I'm speaking from personal experience, but it's been validated by the facts after the fact. So I believe it in all my heart. I will look you in the eye and give you a new prediction, like I did when I told you the Pope was going to resign and everybody said it would never happen. In April of 2029, Apophis is going to strike the Earth.
Okay, so you saw what Tom Horn had to say concerning his vision of this asteroid Apophis hitting the Earth. Now, this is from Google AI Overview saying asteroid Apophis will not hit the Earth in 2029. Instead, on April 13, 2029, it will make a very close flyby of Earth, passing at a distance of about 20,000 miles. That's actually pretty close. This is closer than many geostationary satellites. While it's a close approach, it's not an impact, and scientists have ruled out any impact risk for at least 100 years. Now, he's saying they're covering up. He's saying they know for a fact, and they're trying to do something. You remember that movie that was called Armageddon that Bruce Willis was in, where they saw the same thing happening. There was either an asteroid or a comet that was coming towards Earth. It was going to cause destruction. And they wanted to actually try to change its trajectory away from Earth. And anyway, so that movie, they tried to do that, right? And to stop what was going to happen. I think they were kind of successful, basically. But I think Tom Horn thinks that the Space Force was developed in order to try to do that, to try to come up with a way in time before 2029 to do something to steer Apophis away from Earth, because they absolutely do believe, like they said at the beginning, that will make an impact on Earth. And Tom Horn says he absolutely believes it will, because he saw it in that dream. He saw what happened in that dream as a result of it. And we see clearly in Scripture, in Revelation 8, that something like that is going to, that we call Wormwood, is going to make this kind of an impact on Earth. Something, celestial body, is going to come through and cause that kind of damage that we see in chapter 8. So that means it's true right there. And it's actually in the Bible. It's definitely going to happen, whether it's Apophis or something else. Okay? So April 13, 2029 is not exactly in the middle of the 7-year time period between September 23rd and 24th, 2025 and September 15th of 2032. It does fall in between, not exactly at the halfway point, but close to the halfway point. And he makes mention about that in another interview. But either way, just wanted to kind of throw this out there and show you guys. And so it all goes back really to this. It goes back to this man right here, Joshua, Brother Joshua, and what he's had to say. And there's a lot of people that are saying that they agree with him, and there's a lot of people saying they don't agree with him. There are some out there that are continuing to say, no man knows the day or the hour. Well, he's not even saying he knows the day or the hour. He says he knows the time frame within a couple of days because God told him that. And who are we to tell him to say that God didn't tell him this? Who are we to say that God didn't tell Tom Horn about the Wormwood prophecy and about Apophis? We can't say that because we weren't there. We weren't the ones given this vision or dream. But these two men were. And so I'm just saying this. I'm not saying that I absolutely know what time frame it's going to happen. I'm not saying that he's absolutely 100% right. But what I am saying is it's reason to be hopeful if that's what you look forward to. If you look forward to the bridegroom coming back for the bride, if you look forward to finally being with Jesus in heaven and out of this wicked, filthy earth that we're in right now, this world that's gone berserk, if you're really looking forward to that and you see what this man has to say about what the Lord showed him, then it should be a source of encouragement. And I know I'm going to get a lot of heat from the people that are preterists and the people that are mid-trib rapture believers and post-trib rapture believers and pre-wrath rapture believers. I am firmly pre-trib rapture. I believe it. I have always believed pre-trib rapture. I think it only makes sense. It's biblical from every standpoint. And you just have to realize what the 70th week of Daniel, the time of Jacob's trouble, also known as time of Jacob's trouble, what is that period all about? You have to read Revelation to figure that out. You have to read Daniel to figure that out. It's all about, and God told Daniel in chapter 9, it's all about your people. Talking about Daniel's people. Okay? It's talking about the Jews. It's talking about Israel. We have a modern day Israel for a reason right now that exists. It's all about God dealing with them for that last week of years, the 70th week of years, prior to his return as Lord of Lords and King of Kings to begin the millennial reign of Jesus Christ. The millennial reign will happen. And we see it in Revelation chapter 20. It's going to happen. And that's what this is all about. So, you can believe it or you cannot believe it, but I hope that for those of you who look forward to seeing your Savior, that this is a video of encouragement, and all we can do is watch and be ready and know that even if it doesn't happen this year, it's still going to happen. And it's going to happen. I've always believed it would happen in my lifetime. And I believe that we can't be too far off. If it didn't happen this year, that it still could happen next year, the year after, or, who knows how long. But honestly, I don't think it's that far away. And I believe, as I've always believed, that it will happen as a fulfillment of the Feast of Trumpets. Whenever it happens, it will be at that time frame. It will fulfill the Feast of Trumpets. I believe it 100%. Just a matter of what year. And if it is this year, hallelujah, Maranatha. And so with that, I'm going to say bye for now.